Anyways, I want to introduce Shelby. Welcome to the Stand Up, Speak Up, and Show Up. Shelby, here's something that you may not know about her because she is a relationship and intimacy coach, but she was also a horse midwife. There you go. No one's been that yet. She is going to teach us how to receive and give trust and have healthy boundaries. Oh yeah, like straight up. Okay. Her gift that she is going to be giving today is worth $555. So, she's got a spiritual part to her, $555, which is a beautiful Reiki and or private coaching session. She's going to be able to talk about that. We're going to do this interview style. Remember, we were talking a little bit about interview style, but Shelby, please come on, say hello and tell people who you are and a little bit of your story.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm Shelby, and I've actually just started my my coaching journey. I started it this year, January to be exact. So I'm probably one of the newest professionals in here, I guess. I've been doing Reiki since 2017, but the coaching is a new side for me. I've always had a passion with relationships in general. As I started to do more personal growth for myself, I found that it was so effective and so important for not only for my own growth, but also for other people to learn too. And as I saw what I was able to do for myself, it was something that I really wanted to be able to help others do as well. And then I also was really into sexuality and expressing myself in various ways. So other fun fact, some of the ways that I like to do that is I love to pole dance. It's super fun, it's super sexy, and it really gets me in tune with it's like an emotional release for me, a somatic release. It helps my creativity and my sexuality. So those are all just things that I really love to embody. And I like to bring into my coaching as well, hence the intimacy side of it.
Wow. So I know we were having conversations, we were talking about boundaries, and we were talking about receiving, and we were talking about giving, and you were like, there is a relationship between feminine energy and masculine energy. So maybe share with us, what does healthy feminine energy, because a lot of times we hear be in your feminine, and people what does that mean? Does that mean that I don't express myself? Does that mean that I wear pink? Does it mean that I bake? Does it mean that I go paint? What is healthy feminine energy look like?
To me, what the healthy feminine is actually a lot of kind of what I expressed with how I feel with pole dancing. So allowing yourself to be able to be super creative, to be very emotional, to express your sexuality and especially your sensuality. I feel like sensual energy is very much more a side of being in your feminine, but it's also that really dreamy manifesting part that you what is it that you want to do? Where do you want to go in your life? What is it that you want to, do you want to get an iPod and put it on your vision board kind of thing? It's that type of energy. That's the natural feminine energy, compassion, nurturing, and receiving. A lot of being able to actually accept and receive. And a lot of the times, I know I struggle with this for myself sometimes, is that receiving can actually be really hard because we don't want to seem like weak women. We want to say I can do it myself, but we do need people. We do need to be able to receive. It's a super, super important part of being able to balance the masculine and the feminine. And so that's the feminine part of it, is saying yeah, I will, I will allow you to open the door for me because you know what, my hands are full. Maybe I shouldn't just be using my foot to open it. Right? Let someone help you. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be anything big. So
I think that's a great point. When you that's a great example. Thank you for that. Because sometimes, by nature, most people are capable. And I think we're capable beyond our wildest dreams. And there's been a whole uprising, if we're sticking with our theme, there's been a whole uprising of women's competence and women's ability, and you can dream like everybody else can dream, and you can achieve like everybody else can achieve, and you can obtain and you can have. And I think sometimes even those small little things, we don't even mean to brush it off. It's hey, would you like me to grab the door for you? No, that's okay, I got it. We don't even know anymore. That's a small form of receiving. But how many times have I been at a cafe or something And there's, there's someone who's got like a couple of extra plates, and I'm standing there like, do you want me to help you take it to your table? I mean, I'm not a waitress. I'm just standing here. Do you want me to help you take it to your table? And they're like, no, I got it. As they're layering 3 and covering their drink. I think that we've been so encouraged to handle and do so much that we kind of forget about that little stuff, right? That little stuff like, hey, let me just, it's like, and it's notable. Like it's notable. You're like, oh, wow, someone opened the door. And you know what? And then there's some people that go, I'm nervous to even ask if someone wants the door opened anymore, because I don't know what people want anymore. I don't know how it's going to be received. So I think that's a really great example to do, because we do shush off that little stuff, and then like little stuff, it builds up, and then we get tired, right? Or we forget to receive on the big stuff. Or for me, when I was working with Michelle, one of the things about was even asking. Like, I've become so independent that I like forgot to ask. Like I forgot. Oh, that's right. I could ask. I could talk to someone else other than, my meditation in the morning and ask. Like I ask, but sometimes I don't ask. So thank you for that. I'm sure you must have a lot of people that come to you with that particular issue.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yes. I actually wanted to just come back to something you actually said there too, because you said capable. And I think that is exactly the thing that everyone struggles with, is like, I am capable. And then especially if, again, this is like personal examples, but I'll have men come up and be like, hold the door, or would you do something nice? And I'll be like, no, I've got it. And like, I'm fully capable. And they're like, I know, but I want to do this for you. And it's kind of like just remembering that side of it, being like, people actually really want to be kind and they want to help. And it's actually taking away like someone else's happiness if you're not letting them help you, kind of thing, right? Like people like doing that. I like to do that to other people too. And I'm sure everyone else here feels the same way, right? And I actually have another example, and this is of a man who wasn't actually very good at receiving. So this would be his like the feminine energy and him being a little bit off balance, which was at I like to buy people coffee sometimes, and usually I do it in the drive-through so people can't reject me. I'd be like, no. It's okay. So I did it this was the second time I did it in person, and there was a guy behind me. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll buy him his coffee. And I asked, and he said, oh, no, like, it's okay. I was like, are you sure? Like, I'd like to. He's like, no. Like, I'm good. He had it. And then he said he had a girlfriend and all the thing. I was like, I'm not hitting on you. I just want to do something nice, kind of thing. Right. But it's interesting, because then speaking of that receiving energy, like that actually took a hit on me, because I was like, man, I was just trying to be nice, and I got rejected from it. Right. So it didn't feel very good. So there's that side of things where it's like, just accept, and it makes someone else's day too.
I think that's a good one. When Sandy talked about like she has her people put sticky notes, I think it's a good one for women. I mean, I think the word that you just said around accept, like just accept, receive, accept. I think that's a good reminder. And I think the more that we do that, the more that we allow others to do that as well, right?
Yeah.
So I got to ask the other question. So here's this feminine energy and receiving and being comfortable and being in your feminine and, having that relationship. And so masculine, because we all, Arch, in the conversation, you shared with me that there's feminine energy and then there's masculine energy. So what does a healthy masculine energy look like?
So healthy masculine is this energy of, I would say, like, if I'm picking one main word, it's safety. It's being able to trust in yourself, to be reliable, to have a really nice structure, to feel stable, and to feel like you can keep yourself safe. And what I found, or what I was thinking of today, was how we're very much told that we need someone to fill that like masculine energy for us. Like we can't protect ourselves, we can't speak up for ourselves, we can't take the action. That's like, those are all things that men need to do. But that's just not true. In order for us to be fully embodied in who we are and to be able to go forth and actually attain our dreams and feel safe in our own bodies, we need to be able to do that stuff for ourselves. We need to be able to understand how to keep ourselves safe by expressing the boundaries that we need, to express our needs to other people so that we can be happier, and to be able to communicate when things are like, when they're off, or even when they're good too, because that's, again, that helps people recognize when we're happy or not. And those are just all really important things that have to happen. So a lot of like grounded action is what I would align with the masculine, safety and grounded action.
So when you talk and you were sharing, it's like, it's one thing to, I think that this has been a word that's been quite, thank you, Brene Brown, boundaries, right?
Mhm.
So it seems to me, in talking with lots of gal pals, it's one thing to learn what your boundaries are, and then to express those boundaries, or to ask for those boundaries to be honored or even just listened to. I mean, is that an area that is, do you find, because you're coaching people,
Mhm.
what's some of your suggestions around boundaries? Like,
I find what works best is if you kind of prepare them and think about them ahead of time. So you could think, like, anyone here can probably figure out that there is one person that they're like, oh, I need boundaries with this person. And you know exactly what it is, right? But to go and actually do it is really hard, because maybe you don't know exactly how you're going to go about it. So it's just taking the time to think about it and then be like, hey, this is what I need to do. Do I feel capable and safe to do this, or am I scared about something? And then basically like reverse engineer and kind of just keep going down and see how you can make baby steps. And so the boundary might not even be with that person right away. It might be with someone that you have less of a connection to, kind of thing. Because then there's not as much skin in the game, right? It's not like what I was saying before, like, oh, I might get rejected if I do this boundary, or I'll be bad if I set this boundary, or like whatever. There's wounding there that that a lot of people have with setting boundaries that will stop them from expressing them. And then it just makes you feel resentful and not good, and like you're being walked all over, right? And it doesn't allow for a healthy relationship, which is ultimately what I think everyone wants.
well, that's really interesting. That's actually a great suggestion. You could even, practice it with somebody. I mean, there's been times where if you have to go set a boundary with a boss, or
Mhm.
set a boundary with a parent, or set a boundary with a child, or someone that you have attachment to, like, oh, my boss could fire me, or, my, sister-in-law could get upset with me, or like those big ones. I mean, just starting it off and maybe even doing some role playing with your gal pals, like, I need to say this. What does it sound like when I say that? Because,
Mhm.
I've heard, and, people they have a fear about setting the boundary. I think it's because they don't know how it's going to be received, and then what's going to happen to the relationship then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can use the example of the boss, because there's some things in there which also can help bring in more of that masculine energy to help you feel better about whatever it is that you need to talk about. So maybe if there is a boundary that you need to set with the boss, then you can actually do, like, start asking some questions, looking up some information. Maybe you actually have to go back to the handbook that you were given when you were hired to see what can you do about this legally. And if I set this boundary, am I going to get in trouble or not? Or can I say, like, no, and have this as backup? Like, this states that you can't fire me. Or it's just in, like, having that information, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel more stable, more like you're holding yourself in safety. It can just, like, doing some of that extra research, like becoming your own little detective on how you can make yourself feel better and more grounded in those situations. That can be really helpful too, in aiding you to then be able to set those boundaries.
Well, and I think, in your work, and I'm not in your work, so you can correct me if I'm wrong or tell me, but I would imagine that if you have two people and they both have feminine and masculine energy, and, um, you know, setting boundaries or not setting boundaries can
Mhm.
really be a breakdown of, I mean, you're an intimacy coach, right? So I would think that building intimacy would be a safe place to be able to share how you're feeling and want to have that to be received. Like,
Mhm.
I would imagine that when couples come to you, they don't necessarily have those skills.
Yeah.
Oh, that we just broke into an hour seminar.
Oh boy. Intimacy, yeah, like, so, okay. In particular, so intimacy is emotional, spiritual, sexual, like physical, all the different types of intimacy. But regarding sex and sexuality, it's amazing. People are like, you are so vulnerable when you are being intimate with someone, when you're naked with another body. And then boundaries to me is like consent. That's basic. That's what it is in the sex construct. And it's, yeah, I find that people get so nervous at that, like when they're getting ready to be intimate with someone else, that it's like adding one thing on top of the other on top of the other. So it's like, I'm being vulnerable. I have to set consensual boundaries here. We have to have this talk, which is really scary. It could mean that I'm going to be rejected. It could mean that I'm unlovable if they say they don't want to do this thing, or whatever the situation is, right? Like, it's just kind of like this whole mountain that you have to climb, which can be really, really hard and vulnerable. And those are things that are, but they're super, super important, especially in all relationships, really. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I saw this look on your face. You're like, oh, that's a big conversation. But when you talk about, I mean, what I'm hearing you say a lot is about communication and how you're communicating and setting boundaries, or asking, or receiving, or allowance, or whatever that relationship is, whether it's you're having this interaction with your boss, or obviously it's very different with the clients that are coming to you. I'm sure they're not coming to you with issues with their boss, but but to practice it in your life in different scenarios. That's a really great one, just like a little bit at a time, because I'm sure someone could feel rejected, in setting a boundary in this one area, but that rejection, maybe it's just someone saying no, but now you're hitting some kind of core wound, and you feel rejected in all areas of your life, and now you're toppling that, that apple cart, and you don't feel lovable, and you don't feel this, and you're never going to ask for that raise again, or it can really downward spiral, I think.
Yeah, well, because people start to create these stories in their head, which aren't true, right? And that's, again, those are things that we work on, like the core wounding, the stories, communicating, and like the fears within communicating needs and boundaries, and just having those conflict communications. Like, that's all stuff that I work on. But the stories it's a huge thing, that like the stories are the anxiety. Basically, when you start doing that in your brain, you're reliving or recreating this whole thing in your mind that's not actually necessarily happening, and that communication could easily fix.
Right. And coming up with a conclusion that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the story actually has an ending.
Yeah.
And the ending by nature's, either the worst case scenario or the next best thing to it, right? Can you share with us as a whole, whatever scenario you're going in, do you have a couple little suggestions that you can tell people? I mean, other than going and practicing it, like when you feel that fear before you kind of embark on, I mean, I guess using this masculine energy that you're talking about, and then really tell us how to blend both, or maybe that's what you want to go into now. It's like, what can we do to be braver?
To be braver. Okay. I'm going to tell you the download. It's kind of, I feel like it kind of answers this, but I had a download earlier today, which was, I mean, I've heard this before, I've heard other people before, but it actually was embodied for me when I got it today, which was that basically we are whole as we are. We already have both the masculine and the feminine energies within us. We might not know right away. It's just like a muscle that we have to work out a little bit. So our masculine energy might not be where it needs to be, but we can learn how to keep ourselves safe, how to keep ourselves structured, how we can trust ourselves and rely on ourselves. And then once we're able to do that, that's like our structure, so that we can put the feminine on top and then create whatever it is that we need to do, to dream, to move forward. And then again, in the unison of everything is like, we have all this stuff, we feel safe and structured, and then we can ground down our dreams into reality. We can take that aligned action instead of just having it in our heads and on a vision board. It actually comes to life. So being able to start to like flex those muscles, work them out a little bit, practice is what you need to do, to be honest. Like, that's the only way, is like exposure and working out those muscles of setting boundaries in easier ways for you that don't seem so scary, or come, work with me and I can help you. That's an option. yeah, like we don't need someone else to balance us. Community is like, we need community and we are social human beings, but we don't need someone to protect us. We can do that for ourselves.
That's a big statement. I think that's kind of like that mic drop. It's like we can protect ourselves, like we can be our own. That's, and I think do it without having to guard up, right? Like without putting on the barriers of that protection, that jacket, the zipper, and then the jacket on top with the buttons, and then the jacket, then the pullover, and then the hoodie, right?
Yeah.
Like we kind of like, layer up. Instead of layering up, just still being in your feminine and going, I can protect myself and I can be safe. And, someone's very more masculine based. I mean, we know people that are in their masculine a lot. It's like, I can ask and I'm still safe.
Yeah. And you don't have to bite.
Yeah.
Like there's an aspect of boundaries where if we don't know how to do them well, or we don't feel safe doing them, then we like get angry, we attack. It's really bitey versus being like, I need you to be here on time because this is something that's really important to me. Thank you for understanding. Period. Not, don't ever effing be late again or else XYZ. Right?
That's a great example. That, I don't know, does anyone? Anyone? That's awesome. That is awesome. So people come to you and not everybody, they're like, oh, relationship and intimacy coach. So when do couples come, do singles come, like who comes to see you?
The people that come to see me actually seem to be young women mostly. So it's around like the age of 20 is the people that seem to resonate with me. Which I like because it actually kind of helps people helps these young women to set themselves up quite early in life to then move forward and do these things in a more healthy way. Like they're still going to go through it and make, like we all do, make mistakes and whatnot. But I feel like it actually really has this nice base layer for them to move forward in a healthier way, which is, I like that a lot. I'm open for whoever it resonates with me, but I really like being able to help younger women to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's interesting, right? I mean, for those of us that have been on the planet a little bit, I mean, there wasn't people teaching what you taught. I mean, I happened to study Ayurveda and there was the world of Tantra and relationship in there, but and I saw Roberta Sky, who also is very much in that community, join us today. But it's just, you don't know till you know. You don't know until you know. And so I love that example of don't be late, which is probably dishonoring even to yourself to say it, but to just be able to say like, this is how it makes me feel, or this is how, wow, that's really great. I know we're coming close to time. I want you to be able to share about what it is that your gift is that you're giving to people. But is there anything else that you want to say about the kind of work that you do?
It's magical. I have a poem that I wanted to share actually, if I could do that.
Absolutely.
Because that's this is one of the ways that I actually really get into my intuition. And I feel like my words are the most powerful. And I wrote it earlier today before this. So I just think it makes the point. Okay. We are whole. We are one. We are balanced, the moon and the sun. We never needed another to fill in the void. We simply hadn't learned how to flex and to stand in our joy. We were taught to close our mouths, leave our opinion on the ground, to set a boundary, a cardinal sin. How dare I not be available to him? To ask for love, kindness, and affection, and to be turned away like I asked for cold direction. I never needed him in order to be whole. He could never complete me. I always needed my own beautiful soul.
Okay. You need to put that in the Facebook group and in the speakers group. And I can absolutely see why you would want to share that today. And what an amazing way to end off. Wow. So I'll let that just land for people. Can you please share with us again what your gift is here of Reiki private coaching? Explain that a little bit, and then I'm going to ask a question, and one of you are going to win it. And how are you going to win it? Because you have been listening to what she's been saying, and you are going to put your answer and your email in the chat.
Okay. So yeah, my free gift is it's a coaching and a Reiki session. It's both. So you get both of these things together. They're both an hour long, and the Reiki will do through, well, both are going to be distant. So through Zoom. And with the Reiki, you'll get a recording. I get a lot of really great messages and downloads when I'm doing a Reiki session on you. We can do it before. We'll probably do Reiki after the coaching session, because then you can get into like more peaceful chill mode, and it helps. Actually, Reiki helps you co-regulate. Like we co-regulate nervous systems, which I thought was like a really, really cool scientific thing that I learned about some woo-woo energy stuff the other day. So yeah, that's what the gift is. I'm excited to work with whoever gets it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, clearly the right person is going to answer this question. And so when I was introducing Shelby, and I was saying something that you probably don't know, which is not related to what she does at all, is what was it that she did? What was it that she did? Now, I will give you a hint, and you need to put the word before it. So she was a midwife. There's a word there. She was a midwife, and it's not people. So I'm going to leave it there. Angel, I gotta say, what was your mic drop there? What was, thank you so much. First of all, Shelby, love. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship and coaching. You've been doing good stuff for a long time. Congratulations for braving up. So Angel.
Oh my gosh, so many things. I love how in the beginning you talked about pole dancing, right? And how it makes you feel sexy, right? Ladies, like I think when we feel sexy, like we are unstoppable, right? I just think like we just feel like our feminine power and who we are. But one of the things that I've been noticing, I'm a speaker. I go out and I see most of the speakers on stage are men, right? It's a fairly male dominated space still. And the women who are on stage tend to have this real like hardness about them. They just have this, like their masculine energy is coming out on stage. And I think there's like this misconception, right? That we need to compete in this man's world with our masculine energy. But I was just feeling from you, like our like who we are in our femininity. It doesn't mean I'm flirting with you. It doesn't mean I want to date you. Like I can just be a woman. Mm-hmm. And I think there's like when we talk about the challenges of being a woman and how far we still need to go, right? And all of this stuff and the inequality, I think like if we could just be our feminine women self, like truly in authenticity. So anyway, so I could go off a little tangent on there. But the whole idea also of accepting a gift, accepting a handout, accepting somebody to open the door. Like, let's not be pissed off at the world because somebody wants to give us a gift. Like it's a present. It's a nice thing. It's a gesture. Where did it ever become like normal to say, I like don't do something nice for me. I got this. And so I love what you're doing. I love the message. And I think that it resonates deeper than I think you even realize, Shelby. So I love that you're out sharing that message because we need to hear it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Shelby is also in the book. Lots of like, what a powerful day. Mm-hmm. What a powerful day. Isn't that incredible? I mean, first of all, the project has just brought like the vibe. Like who was talking vibe? Was it Sandy talking vibe? Yep. Like the vibe.